Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.
All right, guys, we got my boy Clifton Denney on here today. If you don't know the name, you live under a rock and you really need to go check him out. He's got a YouTube channel called On Your Own Outdoors. I've been watching this dude for a few years now. Met him up at the World Deer Expo. And what I feel bad about is JD goes, we're walking through and he goes, "Oh, dude, that's Clifton Denney." And I'm like, "Who?" And he pointed you out and I saw you and I was like, "Oh, damn, I know that's his name." Cause I never knew it, dude. I'm bad with that sort of shit. And
it's in the intro of every video.
I know, but dude, I'm like,
hey, if you ask my wife though, I say it way too fast. She's like, "Slow down," and I can't help it. Yeah, it's just one of the things I got to get through. You know what I mean? I want to get to the hunt. Yep. Everybody wants to get to the hunt. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get the stuff over with, man. So, first off, thank you for coming on. The three of us have been cutting up, talking back and forth for shit, man. Probably 3-4 months now, and you have already had a really good season. You've actually put out some videos that I'm not gonna say we're geared towards people like me, but I say that meaning you shot a bow, and we're just gonna dive into it. I guess you shot a bow that was 50 pounds. I think you were shooting like the same grain arrows that I shoot, so like a 460, 470, something like that.
It was that one was 430. Yeah,
430. Okay, so even lighter, right?
Yeah.
And you just completely put the smack down on. It was a velvet buck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what that did, because me and JD, I'm sure he's gonna say something in this episode because he says it every time we talk. I'm not shooting an arrow as fast as him right now. I'm going to upgrade after the season, whatever. I'm sub 250. And he always gives me shit for having a slow arrow. And I'm always like, "Man, you don't need to worry about speed that much." And then your video comes up and I almost sent it to him. I was like, "Hey, look, our boy's out here shooting with a 50-pound bow. All right, with a lighter arrow than you and me, and he's killing. So what's up?"
I don't know if you noticed there, but I haven't said anything to you since I watched this video.
Good. So hey, Clifton, thank you.
212 foot per second.
Wow, that's almost like recurve speed.
Yeah,
right, like this. And not to mention, that deer was at 30 yards too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, wow,
and,
good shot, man.
And blew through one shoulder. So it's part of it, I guess. So I guess we just jump straight into it. I'll tell you how I got to that video. Right?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So backstory on myself, I have been exclusively bow hunting for 8 years. I've killed 14 public land Pope&Youngs in 6 different states in the last 8 years. So I grew up here in Arkansas hunting pine thickets with a 7 mag over corn. I killed my first Pope&Young. One of my best friends, Richard Fott, gave me probably the best hunting advice I've ever had. And Richard, I met him and Richard's killed 30 of them, right? And I was meeting with him. I was like, "Dude, look at this deer," and for where I live, this deer is 152 inches, but it's like a 200-inch deer. Like you don't get big deer here, right? And so I was like, "Man, I can't wait till I have a wall like yours." And Richard laughed and he was like, "You want to know why you don't?" And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you don't hunt where big deer are." And I started hunting public land. That's where my public land fascination, I guess, came from. Anyway, so it started there, and then at that time I was shooting a Matthews. Oh, are y'all still there? Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I was shooting a Matthews. So just so y'all know, my brother is hunting a big deer that we have on camera, and he just called me. And here it is prime time outside, so he probably just shot. Anyways, but. So that started like my fascination with public land and doing that kind of thing. And then I'm in the military. I've been in the military for 15 years, actually the 8th. So like in just a couple of days. And so everywhere Uncle Sam would send me, I'd carry a bow. And I ended up in Delaware. And if you don't know this about Delaware, but you can like kill a deer a day or something in the county I was in. It was crazy. And so before I went, one of my other really good buddies runs Max Berry Wings, the archery department. And so I had been shooting Rage hypodermics out of an obsession. I was shooting 302 IBO, or that was my foot per second. I was shooting 302. I'm shooting 307 now, but back then I was shooting 302, and I was shooting man, I want to say it was a 390 grain complete setup. And I was noticing I was shooting deer, and I never had the problem elevated. But out of a ground blind, I went down to Texas and was hunting on Fort Hood. And out of a ground blind, whenever I shoot, wow, I wasn't getting complete pastures. Like it was hanging on the fletchings. And I'm like, I'm shooting over 300 foot per second. What's happening? So I went up there and I actually went up to a 520 grain arrow with a tooth of the arrow, little bitty, like inch and 3/8 broadhead. And I was intentionally shoulder punching does. Like I was having a blast. I ended up killing like 11. It was great. But yeah, it was fun. So, anyways, I'm sorry. I'll make this quick. I promise.
Yeah, you're good, man.
So, anyways, I'm shooting these deer, and I had a 7-point, and actually, I could spin the camera around and show it to you, but I'll show it to you later. So, I had this little dink 7-point, right? Comes by, first buck I seen there, and I heart punched him, and I'm talking about just absolute money shot. I get down out of the tree, after about an hour, and I go down there, and there's 0 blood, and like I shoot Luminox, I watched it just heart punching. It's an extremely thick area. Right off the bay down by Bethany Beach. And anyways, I didn't find the deer. 2 days later, I found the deer 60 yards from where I shot it. And that sounds like I didn't look for it. I looked for this deer for 5 hours and couldn't find it. It was super thick. So when I find it, and I have a picture, and I'll send it to you guys once we get off here, the hole was perfect. I blew that deer's heart to pieces, and he ran 60 yards and he died, and the deer did not bleed. So when people ask me how come I don't shoot fixed blades, that's why. Now, I'm not saying, and this is weird, and I'm sure that's buddy over there, he's going to have something to say about it too. Because I tell everybody, I shoot large, I shoot rage hypodermics. That's what I love. That's what I've shot for years. I will shoot, just like last year, I think I actually killed 16 deer last year with 7 different broadheads. And so I put out a lot of arrows. So I get more than the average guy, in my opinion. If you're up north, it takes you 16 years to shoot 16 deer. You know what I mean? So I'm getting a lot of evidence, really. Anyways, what I have noticed is those little cut on contact fixed blade broadheads. They don't bleed as good, but it seems like those deer run 50 yards and stand there and look around till they fall over and they die. Mm-hmm. You shoot them with a rage hypodermic or a mega meat or a schwacker, one of those big ones. When you find those dudes dead, they're like this because they ran until they just fell over. Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about that. That's how I got into this little deal. And then I was talking to Jody a couple months ago, and I was like, dude, I want to do the cheapest possible bow that we think will kill a deer. Like cheapest one, don't care. And there's actually a bear hunt ready package that's like $500, and that's what I was going to do. And so Jody calls me. He's like, man, come down here. I've got a bow. So I go down there, and there's like 6 dudes in there. And because the YouTube has got bigger, they knew me, so we're all talking, and I'm looking at a couple of their bows and like, man, I would do this or this, and not, hey, look, I'm an Indian. I'm not a mechanic. Like Jody does all my work. I do all the killing. Like that's my rule. I don't do anything with bows really. Right. But anyhow, we're talking about broadheads and stuff, and Jody starts laughing, and he's like, hey, here's your new bow. And he pulls up this $250 bear bow that you can literally buy that bow at Walmart. It's $249. It goes up to 50 pounds. It goes as high as it goes. And I was like, oh no, like what? So I get out here in the yard, and I'm gonna tell you guys, number one, all of us shoot these really nice bows now. You go to one of those bows and it will make you a better shooter, because it took me probably 4 groups before I could get high plate at 20 yards. And I ended up getting the bow sighted in the 30, and it's like, no way that happened. And then had the opportunity with that deer. We chronoed it, it's all in the video, but we chronoed it was 212 foot per second. I was shooting a inch, 100 grain QAD broadhead. Dude, those things are nasty, 45 and below. I wouldn't shoot them over 45 yards. They get a little wild, but 45 and below. And that deer came out. I pulled back. I felt good. And I was like, man, we'll see. And then it just so happened. It went in perfect. And then it literally broke the knuckle on the other side, stuck in the ground. 212 foot per second, and a 430 grain total arrow weight setup. No front weight, no nothing, just 430 grain total setup, and blew through that deer. So I do like to, if you start watching my channel, you see my channel, you'll see me do all kinds of different stuff, different broadheads, just because guys comment And my favorite thing, like I had a guy comment or shoot me a Facebook message yesterday. I was like, man, I don't know if you ask questions, but I have a question about a climber. He's never climber hunted, bought one because of one of my videos. And we messaged back and forth for like an hour and a half. It's like my favorite part about it. So like dudes like y'all, you know, I was like, hey, what do you think about these broadheads? I'm liable to go buy a pack and just smash a doe to see what happens, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you and I talked about the Q80 Exodus at the deer show, and because that was the broadhead I was planning on using, and I'm still gonna probably use it this year. But before we got on here, I was just telling JD that I've got I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 of those new Sever 1.75s. And I had a buddy of mine shoot a deer with one of those the other day. And he and I were talking back and forth, and I was like, man, I really want, because I'm shooting 240 foot a second. And last year I was shooting a 515 grain arrow with a mega meat at maybe 200 foot per second. I didn't know that. I never chronoed it. I'm thinking I'm shooting 66 pounds, 500 grain arrow, ranch fairy, gonna blow through the shoulder, right? No, I mean, it killed him. It definitely killed him. It bedded off in the offside shoulder, but my arrow flight was shit. My bow was not tuned. I was shooting a whisker biscuit, and it just wasn't like a good setup. And so since then I've completely changed everything.
That 212 foot per second bow also had a whisker biscuit on it. Like it was
well, you were working some magic then, because I could not get mine to shoot right at all, man.
Mine either. Jody, actually, the archery tech down there, I called him because the backstory to that was the first time I climbed a tree this season. Like it was opening morning of our urban hunt, so it comes in 30 days early. And so as soon as I shoot it, like, I flipped the camera around, I called Jody and I was like, hey dude, I just killed one with that bow. And he was like, shut up. And I was like, no. And he was like, I'm ordering you a slingshot. He's like, we got to find something. He was like, I thought you'd at least miss a couple first. And I was like, no, I wouldn't have climbed in the tree with one, I didn't think you.
Well, and that just kind of gives testament to like what you were saying, and kind of circling back to the whole fixed blade mechanical deal. The blood trail on that mega meat was badass, but it also, didn't get a pass through, which is kind of what I'm wanting to get now, And so I was gonna go with the Exodus, switch to the Sever. I mean, what do you think for someone that's shooting like sub 250 and 450 grain arrow? If you had to choose, would you go fixed or would you go mechanical?
So in my opinion, and again, guys, so if you watch any of my broadhead videos, I have a sign off that I always say, and yeah, I picked it up from military, it's stolen, but it is confidence is accuracy, and accuracy kills.
Yep.
110%, doesn't matter what you're shooting. But more important than the numbers, right? So you're talking about numbers. The more important thing, in my opinion, is shoot the broadhead for where you're shooting the deer. Okay. Now, the reason that I say that, right? So if you are a pocket puncher, well, okay, so number one, we'll start with 250 and less. 250 and less, do not shoot a mechanical. 100, just don't do it. It's not safe. And what I mean by not safe, same situation you ran into. I don't care if you're shooting 700 grains or you're shooting 250 grains. A big expandable has got more. Whoa, that's nifty. A big expandable. Sorry. Could you imagine?
Right?
Look at that. That's awesome. So
3 guys with ADD, man, you gotta love it.
I'm sorry. A big expandable though, it's going to be harder to push that through. Like it's common sense, right? Not to mention, other than about the one that you just talked about, which is the mega meat and the dead meat, like it's hard to find an expandable that's as sharp as most of the fixed blades, and sharpness is going to help it go through. But when you get above the 250, so if you're below 250, in my opinion, you have 3 options in broadheads. And in my opinion, they go in this, right? So the Magnus Stingers, that is a bad broadhead. 60 yards, it flies exactly like a field tip. That is the most true flying fixed blade that I have ever shot.
Wow.
The next one is probably the G5 Montec. That broadhead, which is crazy because it's big and bulky. Thing flies phenomenal. Mm-hmm. However, if I was shooting a bow or shooting in an area where I'm going to be 40 yards and in, And if you don't know this about me, I like to shoot distance. I think my average on I did this 2 years ago or a year ago on one of the pages, made a bunch of people mad. I think out of the last 42 deer I've shot, the average was right at 40 yards, 42 yards, something like that, that I shoot deer. But here nor there, the QAD, like that thing is absolutely disgusting. What it does, it literally gives you the blood trail of a mechanical with the pass through of a fixed blade.
See, that's what I was going to just ask you. And I don't mean to cut you off, but that's
No,
something I've really been like debating with a lot of people lately that are shooting mechanicals. And they're like, oh man, this, like the Sever, which is why I switched because I just wanted to see what would happen. Now, granted, I didn't have to change anything, so I could literally go upstairs, throw that Exodus on, and I'm good to go, right?
Yep.
But the thing that I keep running into whenever I talk to anyone, JD, my buddy David, my buddy Andy, my buddy Thor, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. They're always saying, oh man, fixed blades, blood trail's not that good. Like you'll get a pass through, but the blood trail's kind of, dotty. They're like, go with mechanical so you get a better blood trail. And I'm
dude,
like, well,
I had a conversation with my first sergeant, like literally. So I'm the safety NCO I see in the military, right? And I just did a UXO brief today. That's the reason I was worried about being here on time, which is an unexploded ordnance brief.
okay.
But before I went in there, my first sergeant was asking me this exact question. He's shooting a crossbow, and he was like, fixed blade or mechanicals. And like I said a while ago, you're not ever, and I will stand by that unless it is just a perfect shot next to shot, that mechanical was going to give you a better blood trail 90% of the time. I won't say 100%, right? 90% of the time it's going to give you a better blood trail. But for whatever reason, and I do think that it is a smaller cut diameter and it's sharper. It's like the deer don't know what the hell happened to them when you hit them with a small fixed blade broadhead. Mm-hmm. They'll run 40 yards and they'll just stand there and fall over. And like if you find guys like myself that are mechanicals that are honest, they will tell you my average deer runs 100 yards. I don't care if I cut his heart in half, if I double lung him or I gut shot him. He's running 100, 150 yards and is going to die in a dead sprint. Where, like the video you were talking about a while ago with that QAD, one lung, well, I guess it was two lungs, but two lungs, offside shoulder. That deer ran 35 yards, stood there, looked around until he fell over. Like it's like they don't know they're hit with those super sharp, small cut diameter broadheads.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and then you can do all the talking you want to. But the shoot for, and I hope that if nobody listens to anything I say about any of the stuff about bows and broadheads or any of that, because I'm not a teacher of tuning and stuff like that, but I am a teacher of a lot of experience with shooting deer, right? So Shoot the broadhead for where you're shooting the deer. So I shoot rage hypodermics, and guys all the time are talking trash, right? Well, I could go through my house and show you 50 racks that say that it works, right? However, I don't pocket shoot deer. I hold 6 inches off the shoulder. Doesn't matter if the deer is 10 yards or the deer is 50 yards. I shoot for a double long shot. 2 reasons. If I pull left 6 inches, I heart punch that deer. If I pull right 6 inches, I gut shoot that deer. I'm a smart enough hunter that if I gut shoot that deer, I will get down, leave the opposite direction, come back in 5 to 8 hours, and that deer's dead in 150, right? If I'm pocket shooting deer, if I was one of those guys and I'm trying to heart punch deer, I wouldn't shoot a mechanical. 110%. It's too risky. You're too close to a shoulder. Don't do it. So shoot the broadhead for where you're planning to shoot your deer, and you'd be fine. Because I get in these arguments, like I don't even argue with people anymore. They'll be like, oh, mechanical's better. And I'm like, all right, cool. Where are you shooting your deer? And they're like, heart punch or nothing. And I'm like, well, you're probably a pretty intelligent person then, because if you move this much, you're getting in that shoulder and you're going to lose a deer. So shoot it for where you're shooting deer.
So I'm picking your brain because JD knows I tinker with stuff all the time. I got 2 properties. One I can track as far as I need to. The other one is 1 acre, and it's on a power line. And what I'm hoping happens is when I kill there, that the deer go up the power line and die before they get onto the neighbor's property. So what I'm kind of taking from that is go with the fixed blade on the small piece of land. And then if I want to try the Sever or any mechanical, try it on the other one, because at least I can go track if need be. Would you suggest that, or would you say just go fix the whole way around?
Shoot it in the side of the head. I'm just kidding. There's a good way to
I'm not that good of a shot, dude. Not with a bow.
No, seriously, if I was hunting on a small property, I would most certainly be shooting a fixed blade. I would be as high as possible, camo dusted to the nines, so that, in my opinion, that deer has no idea I'm there, and I would send one through with a fixed blade, because I think that is your best opportunity for the deer not to run far before it passes.
Okay, well, I'm switching then. Going back to Exodus. That's what I'm gonna do tonight. Well, look, man. So how I found you is kind of relating to what we were just talking about. Is I love watching broadhead test videos, and when JD put his out, I probably watched it 3 or 4 times because there's just something about the things that people make that you can kind of see the devastation that'll happen. Because with the deer, I mean, yeah, it's all circumstance, always different. Yeah, it's exactly. With a test, you can kind of compare, apples to apples, or you get an orange out of the group and you're like, all right, I'm not ever going to touch that. So I found you on YouTube like 3 or 4 years ago doing broadhead tests. And one of the ones that sticks out to me was when you did the Denney, because you used to freeze a watermelon and you would shoot it and you could just see like what would happen with that. Like, I think you did Rage, Sever, Dead Meat, Grim Reaper.
I did
getting any. You did like so many, dude.
I did the most popular 16 that year, if I remember right, and just 2.5 years ago. Wasn't that long, but yeah.
Well,
you got to forgive him, Clifton. He's young.
I'm not even 30 yet, guys. So
I was only saying that. I'm only 34. I just got a bad hairline. But I was only saying.
Oh God, I'm older than both of you.
Who are you telling? Bad hairline. I got that Polish.
Oh, you didn't need to point and laugh. Come on.
I was only saying that though because while we're actually on this phone, I'm going to hit 11,000 subscribers, so that'll be pretty cool. So in 2.5 years.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty good growth for a hunting channel. But yes, no. So what I did, and dude, so when it comes to broadhead, what I called them was broadhead reviews instead of broadhead testing, right? And what my argument was with everybody is because they're like, that's not a deer, right? And I'm like, I'm not necessarily comparing that. I'm comparing each broadhead to a definite test that is all measured the exact same, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I would actually do is that was a 5-inch block of ice. I'd take a watermelon, cut it in half. I had a mold of the inside of a watermelon, and I would freeze a 5-inch block of ice, put it on that side, leave all the filling on the watermelon on the other side, and then duct tape it together. The duct tape is supposed to like be the hide to make those bleeders open, right? And yeah, no, that was my wife gives me a hard time all the time because, just so you guys know, I was doing those videos in August and it was probably the most miserable thing I've ever done in my life. But really it was probably my most viewed stuff. And my wife all the time is like, you need to go back, because if you guys don't know and you're watching this, product reviews is probably what I'm most known for. I kill some really good deer, but I have done, 250 product reviews, from stands to bows to broadheads to arrows to climbers to lock on sticks, everything I can get my hands on. So that dead meat, I actually pissed a bunch of people off with that.
Why?
Because it shot 6-inch different than a field tip at 50 yards.
Dang.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen that video, but I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, so it's not videoed. I just talk about it because whenever I first started, I didn't have the camera that I have now, right? Yeah. So I didn't really have a camera that was good enough to be zoomed in out at 50, and so I would just do it and be like, "Hey, this is the hole, whatever." But it definitely, the dead meat and the mega meat are phenomenal. But hear me again, phenomenal broadheads, 40 yards and in.
Yep.
Over 40 yards in my ram hunt, you see it. I shot at a ram at 52, and that dude made like the size of a basketball circle right about the time it hit 41 yards, and I went right over the ram's back and then shot it with a 7 mag because why not?
Holy crap! I've never. How?
Yeah, I don't know. My best guess with that particular one is I think that one of the clips popped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think one of the blades probably came open because my bow is traveling super fast and it shoots super hard.
Mhm.
And it probably, the shock of it, popped one of them loose and give her the whirly bird.
That's crazy. Yep. So do you have any plans to do any more broadhead reviews? Because I know JD's got one or two that he probably wants you to do a video on. They won't cost a lot. They're like $20 for, what was it, a 4-pack?
No, that's not one of them. That's not one of them.
Hey,
I'm not going to put that in there.
Why don't you tell them about
all right, so I have seen your video on the Allen fixed. I have seen that. But I want to see your video on the Allen mechanical, the Vapor.
Bro, it's on there. It exploded air.
Hold on. I'm looking this up.
Do it.
Because I haven't seen it because I've killed 2 deer with that thing. I love it.
Oh my God. Don't say that out loud in front of people. No, I shot. So if I'm not mistaken, like I know it's on there, but I don't remember if I shot 2 or 3. One broke like when it hit, and then the other one like exploded before it got there. Like whenever you look at the holes, like there wasn't even 3 blades. Like I guess a blade just was like, peace, I'm out. And it cut out on its way to the thing.
No, it wasn't a 3-blade. It's the 2-inch mechanical.
This was a mechanical. 3-blade mechanical.
Yeah. So you did
the see, I don't use those.
He did the blood rush. I think that's the one that folds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the
okay. I don't use those.
Oh, sorry. The one he's talking about, if you take a Rage, right? Think of like the Rage cut on contact. And then you put one of those, those peach rings, those little gummy things.
Mm-hmm.
You take one of those and you put it where the blades start. That's about how big the band is. Yeah. And I mean, he gave me one. I haven't even shot it yet because I'm all out of peach rings. But because he did a test on it and it didn't even open. So he's like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to go. And then he kills a deer and it died. It died like what, 30 yards?
She didn't even go 25 yards.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you can buy a 4-pack or 3-pack for like $20 at Walmart. It's crazy.
I got them on clearance for $9.97.
All right. Well, you got a deal.
That's the broadhead, the expandable that I did that like fell apart. Like its normal price is $9.98. $9.88.
Wow.
So crazy.
But
I don't use those.
But to answer your question, I'm actually going to start doing broadhead reviews again, and they're probably going to actually be in that February-March timeframe.
Okay.
Because it's too damn hot doing it in August. Like my thought process was get them out whenever guys are looking, and man, they can just search them from 6 months ago. It's too hot in August.
Yeah. Right. Well, if you want, I've got extra severs I can send you because I've got them 3-4 months ago, something like that. So I mean,
the sever broadheads, I did reviews of them too.
But have you done the new one?
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, there you go. I got 5 waiting. I'll send you one if you want to test it, just to see.
I'll do it whenever I get ready to do it. I'll be like, these are the podcast heads.
There you go. There you go.
The podcast head episode.
Podcast heads. They're Southeastern Bow Hunter exclusives.
There you go.
Some orange and everything. Yeah. I'll call Gary from Sever and say, hey, dude, look, put the logo on the blade for me, will you?
Yeah.
He would never do that. But so I guess still talking about the review stuff, man. Like I watched, because I'm getting a new bow after this season. Bear just dropped a whole new line of bows, and I've already picked out the one I want. I'm gonna be getting the white.
Which one?
The Whitetail Max.
Okay. All right.
If I had $1,300, I'd get the Persist, but
bro, you're broken.
I'm broken.
What I mean, yeah, you are the problem with the whole industry.
What did I do?
Right now. What you tell him, JD? Look, you are the problem.
Well,
when you get ready to
hey, the first step to fixing a problem is admitting you have one. So tell me what it is so I can fix it.
That's right. Listen, we're in AA right now. All right.
Yeah.
Archery addiction, right? Or Archery Anonymous. I'm sorry. All right. So listen.
Archery awareness.
There you go. The first. Hey, look, that might be what I start calling my true hunting speed videos.
Hey, there
I
you
think
go. That,
the
that,
AA
that would
does.
work. Hit me with
So
it.
in my opinion, again, this is all opinionated stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you just said is why guys can't shoot. And what I mean by that is if you actually know bows, not every bow, but
Yeah.
we'll just say every bow is made for a different type of shooter, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if you have your mind set on, I'm getting that white, and I'm not saying the bear because I think the bear line's great, right?
Oh yeah.
But I tell everybody, and if I'm lying, I'm dying. Not this PSE, but my last bow that I got when I got my obsession, I had the guys down at Max. Literally before I got there, they set up 7 different bows at a 28.5-inch straw and 75-pound pool.
Okay.
And they put electrical tape over the names of them, so I didn't know what they were. And I went and shot each one of them, and I picked the one that shot the best for me. And so, get you a bear, but
Yeah.
go shoot them all. Shoot them all.
So
Because
sorry, keep going.
no, because just because you see it and you're like, man, it's a really good price, it's a really good deal. What guys end up doing a lot of times is they try to change to the bow, and that's not what
Buyer's
bows.
remorse.
You know what I mean? Look, he's
Yeah.
over there smiling. He's like, "You right?"
Well, no, dude.
Get him.
So it's funny you say that because when I first started, I had a blackout, which is basically just a Bear Legit, rebranded Bear Legit, right? Awesome bow. I loved it. It's just too slow for me. Like I want to be faster than where I'm at. So I think I hunted with that bow for 2 years. JD had a Bear Paradox that he was selling, so I bought his bow. That's the bow I'm using now. And I will be fully honest. At first, I hated it because it's a single cam. And I did not like how every time I would go back and it would drop, it would like drop. I wasn't used to that. So, man, and sometimes like I'd pull back and it'd drop and then it'd try to kick back forward. And I'm like, all right, I don't like that. So, I guess really what I should say is because I've got a bear dealer down the street from me. So, they have every bear that I could want. I've had my eye on the Alaskan, the Whitetail Legend Pro, and then now the Whitetail Max, because that's kind of what's in my budget, you know. So if they have any of those, I'm gonna do exactly what you said, and if they have any of them in stock, you know, just sitting there in the shop, I'll pull it back and I'll see if I like it, and if not, I'm not gonna waste my money, you know.
Remember,
So
confidence is accuracy.
yep.
If you go in and you know, my first 3 bows I bought were all eBay bows, all used bows, bought them on eBay because that was the price I had set in my head, and you know, whatever. Every bow I have shot since then, except for whenever I went back to Matthews for a couple of years, that was a mistake. But every bow I shot since then, it's not Matthews, man. I went back to a short axle, and it's just not for me. I like to shoot distance. I have went in and shot multiple bows and then decided on a bow. And probably the best thing and the worst thing for me is how many bows, like y'all have seen the True Hunting Speed videos, how many bows I shoot a year.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me because I get guys, I can't tell you how many messages I get over which bow should I be shooting, right? And I'm like, God, dude, because you know, you've got Prime now. That Prime has came a long ways, especially if you like that long axle to axle, right? But there's all these different bow brands now, and they're this much difference, right? I don't know if you there's this much difference, but this much difference in that bow when you're holding it and you're formed up and you're sitting there, like that's a 20 yards different than a guy shooting a bow. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I wasn't trying to get on a rant. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That's all we do here is rant. So
Yeah.
you're doing just fine. No, I mean, I bring that up because, you know, you have shot a bunch of bows, and with me being in the market in the next, I don't know, 5-6 months, I've kind of bounced back and forth between dart and obsession and bear. I mean, I'm a huge bear fan. Like that's what I started with. I love everything that Fred Bear has done, and I want to kind of be part of that, you know?
Yep.
Well, we kind of JD's shooting an obsession right now, and I already told him, you know, when I see it, like when I see him next time, I want to pull it back. I want to shoot an arrow to see how it feels, because if it's, you know, if it's any good, I may go with that, you know. And if someone I know has got a darton, or if I go somewhere and they've got it, I'll pull it back and just see. But I mean, I've only owned 2 bows in the 5 years that I've been hunting. I've shot multiple. Like I shot JD's Hoyt. What was it? A Torex, I think.
Mhm.
And it was, it was great. I shot my buddy's Hoyt BTM 34, I think it was. I don't remember, but I didn't like it because it was too. I call it blocky. It felt like I was holding a big rectangular stick, and I didn't like how tough it was at first to draw it back, and then it kind of lightened up. Like I like a light start and then a heavier, back end. And so yeah, I mean, I used to say, oh man, all bows are the same. It doesn't matter. I put my foot in my mouth for sure because that is not true. I mean, they like you said, they're all really good, and there's that much difference, but that much difference, I feel like can really change how you feel about a brand.
Well, and the guys that are, the ranch fairy style guys, and this isn't bad mouthing, like they're listen. So when it comes to any reviews or mechanics or this is the right way and that's the wrong way, look, if you try hard enough, you can find data that backs you up. And that's what it is. You want to shoot a light arrow, you can find data that backs it up. You want to shoot a heavy arrow, you can find data that backs it up. But when it does come to the bow, and I mean it's just like everything else, shooter's preference or whatever. And it's funny that he shoots Obsession because I actually emailed those guys a couple weeks ago because my most favorite bow that I have ever shot in my life was a DEFCON 6. Like I had never picked up an Obsession in my life. Was shooting a Matthews Z7 Extreme. Went in and was like, I don't care how much money I got to spend, I'm buying a bow. And the damn Obsession was the most expensive one, and I thought it was a Bowtech. Because remember the tech stuff, I thought it was a Bowtech, and he pulled it off. He was like, "It's an Obsession," and I was like, "What is that?" And he was like, "What you're going to use." And so that bow to this day is still nicknamed the Meat Axe because I killed a whole bunch of stuff with it.
That DEFCON 6 was an amazing bow.
That was insane.
What was the details on it? I don't know. Like I know the name, but I don't know the details off the top, the top of my head about that bow.
It's been 7 years ago, 6 years ago. They haven't made it a long time.
Yeah.
The DEFCON 6, I think it was a 335 IBO at the time with a 6 1/4 brace height and 32 axle to axle.
Yeah, it was my first over 30-inch axle to axle, and where I messed up is when I got my Matthews, I went back to a VXR 28-inch axle to axle, and it took me 9 months to learn how to shoot it again.
Yeah, I've never shot anything smaller than 30. I mean, the Paradox is 32, and I like it. The only thing about the 32 that I don't like is when I hunt in a ground blind, I feel a little bit more, closed in, and then in a tree stand because I use a climber. So if I'm like, moving around, I have to make sure that it's clear, and I've kind of learned how to like get it where
you don't. You don't. Buy a different climber. Get away from those rifle climbers.
Oh no, I took the bar off. No. I'm open face now. Yeah, we're good.
XOP, come January, that new climber will be the bow hunting climber. That thing.
Is it the one that's like all open? It's basically a hang on, but it's a climber.
It's the same. Yeah. So I use the old school Lone Wolf, which if you're bow hunting, man, especially if you're like an exclusive bow hunter, they're extremely hard to beat. We won't go down that rabbit hole because I'll talk climbers for hours.
Dude, that's all I use is climbers. We could do it all night.
If you are bow hunting and you are not using a fold flat, at least a fold flat climber, messing up. It just makes so much difference. But, like you guys doing the urban hunt and stuff like that, like put a ladder stand on your back. I don't care. You're only walking like 50 yards. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Alex
JD is the one using the ladder stand this year. I actually sold him one. What was it, last year? I think.
Yeah. All right. Now, hold on. I'm not necessarily using it. It's permanently placed.
Well, I know
but I have a climber that I go in with.
I know. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying you're the one that's got the ladder stand this year. That's all. Yeah,
because I've got 3 properties that are all private in urban areas that are all big enough to sustain a ladder stand. So yeah, I've got 3 permanent ladder stands out there.
Well, ladder stands are good.
I've got a box stand behind the house. I mean, it's for my 6-year-old, but I got one.
but still.
Yep, there you go.
I'm just giving him a hard time. Nah, dude.
Yeah.
So if I would have known me 8 years ago, so the very first year I started bow hunting, I started on White River Refuge here in Arkansas. And the only reason I started, and I could go downstairs and get the deer because I actually ended up killing him, but he's 141-inch 10-point. He ran through my decoy spread. And I was like, because I'm from Arkansas, big duck hunter, right? And I was like, oh my God, that's a 200-inch deer. And so I got on eBay and I bought the Matthews bow, right? I got the Z7 Magnum. I buy this bow, or Extreme, I'm sorry. I buy that bow and I literally took the 3 sections of my ladder fan and wrapped a ratchet strap around them and put them on my back.
Holy
And that's
crap.
how I hunted.
Damn.
Yeah.
And I started the rough way where we're at now, like, you know?
Right. Well, and like I actually just had this conversation with a buddy of mine the other day because the climber I've got's an old Summit. Like I don't even know when it was made, but it has the detachable rifle rail. So I was able, and I used to be scared of heights, like really scared of heights. And now, after just forcing myself to get used to it, I can go, 30 foot and I'm fine. But I always needed that bar there just because, security. And I finally was like, man, to hell with this, because I'm getting caught standing up and all this stuff. Like I need to be able to shoot sitting down if I can't stand up. And yeah, man, sure enough, took it off and now it's no problem at all. So I'm gonna be upgrading. I'm looking at the Summit Open Shot. I need to actually talk with Summit about that whole deal. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of getting away from like the old school. I don't want to say old school, but like the basic, climber style. Like I wish Lone Wolf still had that climber because I would 100% buy it.
Hey, I'm telling you, January, $499. I
Coming back
actually,
out with it?
no, not Lone Wolf, XOP is
Oh,
dropping up.
Okay.
That actually I've got a video of it on there, and hopefully I will get to hunt out of it this week because I'm doing that collaboration hunt with XOP in Wisconsin. I'll leave tomorrow.
Hell yeah, dude.
It's a public land challenge thing, and anyways, I'm not laughing. These guys are gonna see this, and I don't even care. But there's like 4 different channels going, and man, like I, not being cocky, but I'm a public land dude, and they're not all public land dudes. So I'm very excited about this hunt.
So, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I was thinking about asking you about it. We had Michael Perry on probably 3 weeks ago, and that dude, I mean, he public land guru, right? So, what is your strategy for public land? Because like me and JD have been hunting it a lot more. I saw this giant 10-point probably 2 years ago on public land that I don't know if he's still alive, but the spot that I've got has really good genetics. And JD's over near Cobb County, Seek One territory. So there's good genetics all over the place. What's kind of your strategy, I guess, for, obviously look for acorns and stuff like that. But like when you go on a public land, say you've never hunted it before, you don't look for acorns?
No, I don't hunt feed trees.
All right, let's hear it. Tell me your strategy.
My strategy is to go in at night when you can't see. And I only use a phone light. All right, so I'm a maps guy. I study maps and I hunt based off of a map, whether that be pinch points, that be saddles, the fat topo line on a heavy point that's coming down. I think where guys mess up with maps and they struggle with maps is they zoom in too close. You need to be zoomed out where you are looking at a half-mile radius so that you can actually see with your eye those different terrain features that are funneling these deer. Deer do deer things. And that's the reason I started hunting different states, because in Arkansas, yeah, everybody's like, oh yeah, Denney kills big deer. Yeah, okay, whatever. He knows Arkansas. Well, in the last 4 years, I've done that in Kansas. I've done it in Mississippi. I've done it in Alabama and Georgia. There's a method to the madness. But for myself, I don't hunt feed trees. I hunt what I like to call cruising corridors, where I think bucks are going to be traveling. I don't. One thing that I think guys mess up with is that myself and the way that I do it with maps, I will pick a spot on my map. I might have 3 pins on one ridge or whatever. I love hunting ridges, by the way, but I'll have 3 spots, or if it's a pinch point at the end of a slough or a creek or whatever, I've got 3 spots, and those are the only 3 spots I'm going to because I am confident in my capability of reading a map. Right. So when I get out of my truck, and this is like, hunting 101, right? You don't want to stomp all over your area, right? So I get out of my truck, I walk straight to my spot. I've got my phone light. I look around, I find a tree, I climb that tree, and that's where I hunt. I think what people end up doing is they go out, right? They're going to be on a 5-day hunt, 6-day hunt, something like that. And they go out and they're in a rush. And so the first day they walk, they forget about all those pins they've done set on there the last month and a half before this hunt. They go out and they're scouting and they find what is decent sign and they want that quick kill and they climb up in that tree and they end up sitting in that tree the whole 4 days of their hunt. Or like, even if you take that to a public land guy in his home state is what we call weekend warriors, right? They only get to hunt on the weekend. They do the same thing. Or they are my grandfather's grandfather, my dad, my cousin, and everybody has killed a buck out of this stand every year for the last 15 years. I would bet your ass money if you could look at pictures, it was all within a week of each other because that's when bucks were using that area as a travel corridor. It is what it is. Deer things. Now, with that being said, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, right? So, like when I went to Kansas, I was in Kansas to kill a big deer. Like that's what I wanted to do. I walked, I think it was 21 miles in the first day that I was there, day and a half scouting. Ended up finding 2 spots, went to one that I still am convinced was a better spot, but it was getting blown out by some public land people, or private land people. Sorry. They were crossing the line and gun hunting it. And so I exited stage left, went back to my number 2 spot that I had found, a day and a half earlier and ended up killing that 157-inch crazy looking deer or whatever. But, and then you go to Mississippi and so I guess you would say my strategy is number 1, if it is ridges, I am not going in and scouting. I am going straight off of a map. But when you get in flat land, it is different, right? Flat land is harder to pick off of a map because you're limited to pinch points or transition areas in between types of trees and trying to figure out the bedding area from a map. And that can be difficult. I don't care what anybody says. I promise you, if I had my phone, I wasn't using it right now, I would show you my Wisconsin area that I'm going to. It's a public land place. I probably have 200 pins on there where I have been picking this map apart for the last 6 months. Jeez. And I've narrowed it down to 3 spots that I'm going to. But, going to Mississippi last year, it's all delta, it's all river bottoms. Yeah. So there was nothing but pinch points and stuff like that. So like boots on ground was your best option. And whenever I was at the show and actually met you guys, one of my followers, I guess you'd say, whatever, I don't see it that way, just somebody that's watched my stuff, came by and was like, dude, did you really scout for 5 days? And I legitimately walked from daylight till dark for 5 days. Went back to an area that I thought was good, and then I was sitting there and was like, what the hell am I doing? I got down, went to literally a pin I dropped in August. And this is the second week of January. Dropped this pin in August and was like, that's where I'll kill a deer whenever I go in January. Went to that pin and killed, you can't see him, but he's over there, 130-inch 8-point that afternoon. You know what I mean? So like, I hate to say it's a confidence game, but it is. My biggest opinion to somebody new to public land like yourself is, I don't know, do you use Onyx or Hunt Stand or any of those?
Yeah, I'm using Spartan Forge, Onyx,
so
all of that.
I use Onyx, and I'm gonna give you 2 pieces of advice that I think are beneficial. Take them or leave them. Number 1, the first 2 years that you're hunting public land, do it exclusively. Get away from the feed piles, get away from everything and start over, right? Okay. It will be better for you in the end. But do it exclusively, and then pin and date and write a note about every deer that you see. Okay. All right. So every deer that you see, especially because I just I was just up there where you guys are. You still got me? Sorry. I was just up there where you guys are, and y'all have some terrain changes up there. Like there's some hills, right? Oh, yeah. So every deer that you see, pin them. And this is like my key advice that everybody kind of laughs at me about that are my buddies. If just, again, it's not being arrogant, it's not being cocky. It is proven, right? So if I have not killed a buck in Arkansas by December, I will kill one the first 2 weeks of December. Hands down, go watch my videos the last 3 years, guaranteed. And the reason being, whenever I hunt early season, I pin every fawn I see. Every little doe, I pin every one of them. Because the stuff that guys call my main rut and secondary rut, I don't really believe in that. I believe in a trickle rut. I think they all kind of come in whenever they come in, except for fawns. And this is what guys, I think, overlook whenever it comes to late season rut activity, is that those are those yearlings that are coming in, right? And you think about it, a big mature doe, her area is this big, right? 3 mile radius she's running. But those fawns, so 2 things you do with them. You pin them early season when the mama is still with the fawn. You go back out there, like in Arkansas, where I hunt at, our rut is about the middle of November. I go out there in November, those same does are using the same ridges, whatever. All of a sudden, I notice those fawns are by themselves. There's only one reason that fawn's going to be by herself, and that's because Big Daddy's in here chasing his mama around a circle somewhere. So I know I'm in the right spot. So I don't kill that buck. Something happens. I end up moving, have to go out of town, whatever. I come back in the first 2 weeks of January. That would be what everybody calls our second rut, which is all the late season does are coming in. I will go back to that fawn because he's going to be in there, and that little doe has a whole lot smaller home than that big doe does. Whole lot smaller. She's going to run. She's going to, you know what I mean? She's going to stay more homebody, and a lot of times it makes those big mature deer easier to kill because they have narrowed their window. They made their area smaller. Their core area is what I'm trying to say.
Never thought of that.
I haven't either, to be honest with you.
Because I've got, so kind of circling back to the whole ridges thing. Like,
hang on. Stevie! Trying to yell at my wife to get her to bring me a charger. Will you bring me a phone charger? Thank you. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry.
all right.
I was yelling at the wife to get her to bring me a phone charger.
Oh, yeah, you're good, man. But yeah, so one of my buddies, we went scouting this summer, and he put me on this ridge that he said he's always seen deer. And it's maybe 300, 400 yards away from where he hunted last year and saw decent buck travel right across. So it's kind of next to, like, they've got a horse trail on this public land, and it's next to the horse trail, maybe 100 yards off the trail. One of his buddies killed a 130 over there like 2 years ago. This is not far from where I was set up. So I go there opening morning, and, the wind is good for it. I think the deer are going. I had some photos. Oh, boy's got the charger.
Hi, Stevie.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
That way, probably. I don't know if it'll reach.
Clifton, I'm gonna have to send you a screenshot of an area I want you to look at for me, and just like highlight or just circle where you would want to sit.
Yeah, I was
that is
getting
my favorite, literally my favorite thing to do. But turn on the topo lines.
We are.
Yeah, I've got those on because I'm military like you, so I love lines.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not, but if it helps me kill deer.
And so, dude, I could send y'all stuff. Like, I had this guy in Louisiana last year that sent me a pin, and he was like, man, he's like, I watch all your stuff. Dude is super cool guy, and I hope he ends up watching this and then comments on it. But he actually sent me a pin of a new property he got, and he was like, hey, where would you sit? And I was like, here, right? Like, no questions asked, go there. And he was like, all right, I'm going to try it. Well, killed the biggest deer of his life the next day. And I'm not saying this like hand on Bible, that happened like 25 times last year.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I am sending you everything.
Once you learn topo map, and I say this all the time, like, but if you're looking at a topo map, right? Everybody calls it a bench. I don't like to call it a bench, but it's the fat line on a topo map. If you see a ridge, it'll be like skinny line, fat line. Hunt the fat line. That's where that mature deer is going to be traveling every time. And guys will be like, oh, yeah, of course, because it's a bench. Well, I don't know where you're hunting at, but where I'm at, it doesn't look any different than the rest of the ridge. But for whatever reason, that's where those dudes like to travel.
Yeah.
It's And it's funny because guys will be like, well, I always have better luck on the logging roads. Well, if you will pay attention to that topo map on where in the 1800s they built the logging roads, guess where it's at? It's on the fat line.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and then, so like you were saying the ridges, man, and literally this dude, you know, I had photos in there, good deer. You know, I think there was one big 7 that I was like, oh, I'd shoot that. And I get up in the tree. It's like 7:30. And he never told me where he's seen these deer come from. So I'm thinking they're going to be coming directly, you know, out of the creek bottom because it's a ridge on top of a creek bottom, and then there's another ridge on the other side.
Yeah, no, they're gonna be skirting that thing.
And they did. They came up from the creek bottom, but to my right. And I mean, I wasn't expecting that. So, you know, I hear a stick break and I look over and there's 3, I don't know how big, like they weren't like, you know, giants or anything, but it was a bachelor group of bucks that came up. And I was just like, oh shit. Okay. So I need to be over here so I can cut them off when they come up this ridge line or up this creek bottom and come up here on the ridge and then go back down because he was telling me that's kind of how they move. So I'm going to send you some photos tonight or tomorrow of kind of the area. And if you see anything on there, I'll make sure there's topo lines. But if you see anything on there that's like, dude, go here, that's exactly where I'm going to go when this next gun or this archery hunt comes up in like 3
I'm
weeks.
not gonna flood you like he is. I'm just gonna send you one.
Well, it's not gonna be a
And
ton.
let you pick an area.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you the thing that everyone test me. I love it. Test me, and then go out there and don't be like one guy. He was like, "Man, I went to your spot and didn't see anything." I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah, just tell me about his deer numbers." And I was like, "So you like went out there middle of the day, hunger because he hunted out of a lock on, like hunger lock on back out, came back, and he was like, "Nah, bro, I went and walked that whole property, and then I climbed that tree and I see no deer." And I was like, well, "You blew all the deer off that were bedding on top." Good job.
Window liquor.
Yeah, don't say it.
Jeez, dude.
It wasn't that guy.
That's crazy.
I know.
mean, that's just common sense, though. You know, like you walk through. I mean, I've even noticed it on my private property that I've got. If I go out there, like I moved to Cameron today, actually off a ridge, so now I'm kind of regretting that. But I wasn't really seeing. I mean, there was some deer. I had one, you know, 2.5-year-old buck daylight last week, and that place is just weird. But yeah, you walk through there and they disappear for I don't know a day or two. So if you go walk the whole property before you hunt it, of course you're not going to see anything. That's like deer hunting 101.
So think about it. So you say that with private land, right? You know that.
Yeah.
But if you were going to go hunt a new piece of public tomorrow, what would you do?
Well, before we had this conversation, I would have.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, though. Is like guys don't. This isn't trash talking by any means because I've made the exact same mistakes, and I tell everybody like every video I put out, every podcast I do is not trying to say I'm better than anybody because I'm not. 110%. I'm telling you from experience, so you don't make the same mistakes. Because whenever I went to public land, I was just like you. I was like, well, I know. When I go to my box stand, like nothing's going to cross over that lane today because I just walked in here, right? Yeah. Public land, same way. Like you might get a deer to cross through there. And I am a firm believer in camo dust, 110%. Don't care what anybody says. It's like I tell everybody else, if you thought it worked 1% of the time, guess what? It helped, so I'm going to use it. And then everybody says you can't beat a deer's nose. I also agree with that. But if I can make that deer think that I'm 300 yards away and I'm 30 yards away, pull back, fixing to let one rip, I won. So camo dust really does help with that scouting, that kind of thing. But you know, even with camo dust, I'm not going to go tromp through the bedding area and then think I'm going to go get up the stand and think I'm going to see, you know, the big mature deer because they're smarter than that. That's why they're big.
So can you kind of tell me, I watched one of your like very recent videos of you, you know, going on a hunt and using camo dust and all that. Because I got some from y'all when we were at the show and I've been using it, but I don't know if I've been doing it right. Because I had my second or third hunt of the season. It might have been both because I did get busted both times. One of them, I think I was moving. The other time, I know for a fact this doe had me pegged because I watched her come down the ridge, and this is on the small property. So where my stand set up is, I'm probably 20 yards from the driveway, right? And I watch her come down the driveway, and the wind was kind of, you know, quartering off a little bit to where she probably was going to catch something. Dude, sure enough, she hit that edge of the tree line and just the whole time and just gone. And I'm
Yep.
like, maybe I didn't put it on right or enough, or so like, how do you do it? How are you supposed to do it?
So this is the thing with camo dust, right? Camo dust is made for the human scent, right? That is what it is made to attack. And the thing is like, and I'm not saying you work, but if you're wearing the same boots that you just walked in the gas station with, or you just went in there and ate a piece of chicken and then wiped that grease all over your legs and that kind of stuff, not going to work as well, right? So like with me, my routine, I have a scent regiment, if you will. And I'm actually doing it right now because I'm packing to go to Wisconsin. So like my wife likes to use Gain or whatever that shit is. It smells really pretty. So what I do is I will take 6 towels once she's done doing her laundry before I wash my hunting stuff, and I will put them on deep cycle field and wash them twice, right? With scent away soap or all in clear, I think is the name of that stuff. Just doesn't smell laundry detergent. And then I'll dry them, and I do that twice. And then I wash my hunting stuff, and I have a tote. I put all my hunting stuff in the tote. Once I put it in the tote, I take my dust and I just go like this, kind of shake it down. Put my tote together. I wear this until I park my truck. I don't care if it's 8 degrees, like it was whenever I hunted in Minnesota, or if it's 102 degrees, like here in Arkansas. Whenever I get out of my truck, I take these clothes off. I lay them on my tailgate. I put my hunting clothes on, and then I, dust down and I go into the tree. I think a lot of times, usually when guys are getting busted using camo dust, it is if you think about it, because like I've been busted too, right? So last year I had 3 hunts in a row where I actually called Chris, and Chris is a good friend of mine now. Called Chris 3 times, and I was like, dude, I have got busted. And this was a big ass deer, bro. And he busted me 3 times. I was jumping around on him because he was in there with a doe, what everybody calls lockdown. Anyways, this deer busted me 3 days in a row, and I'm like, oh my God's getting frustrated. And he was like, what are you doing wrong? And I was like, nothing. Same regiment, same everything. I don't know, blah, blah. And the next day I went out, and so, hang your bag on the tree right here, right? And so I'm sitting there, and the wind hit me in the back of the neck, and I smelt fruit, like fruity, like laundry detergent fruity. And I was like, what was that? Like, I'm a mile, I'm 1.8 on this public land, and it's like this in there. Like, there's nobody else back here. What in the world? And I turn around, and I know this guy's going to watch this. And his name is Dylan Logan, and to hell with you, Dylan Logan. What I always carry a knife with me and a trash bag, right? Because where I hunt out way back in there, you'll see it in my videos. I pack my deer out, whatever. Dylan had grabbed the wrong trash bag, and he had grabbed a scented black trash bag and stuck it like in the cup holder of my bag for me. And was like,
oh God.
And that deer was busting me because of my trash bag. Another thing that a lot of guys, I think, do that they mess up is like, when I wash my clothes before I go hunt, I dump my bag out and I wash my bag, wash my ropes, wash my safety harness, I wash all of that stuff. Because all of that stuff is collecting scent of some sort at all times. And like, if I'm out the tailgate of my truck right now, I've got a bed cover, and nothing, once hunting season gets here, I clean it out, and nothing goes back there with my hunting stuff. Nothing. I'm not putting any gas back there. I'm not putting any weed eaters back there. Nothing. The trailer for that shit. For that reason, because there's always some kind of scent residue somewhere. I think that camo dust is exactly like, I think it does exactly what it's meant for, and it is to make up for that 10% that you miss, right? That 10% that causes everybody to not get that big deer. I think that's what it's made for, and I think it works great for that. As far as using it goes in the application, like, you literally want to look like you're standing in a snowstorm. Like, so I'll take the sock and just dust all over, right? And then just kind of move around through it, because it's so fine. Like, it gets in the pores of your skin, it gets in your clothes and stuff like that, and it absorbs that scent molecule, which is a moisture molecule. And most of the guys that don't believe in scent control, most, not all, some guys, you're just never going to get them over on that side, and that's perfectly fine. But most of the guys are, because sprays kill on contact. That's, like bleach, basically. You spray it on there, it kills it.
Yeah.
What do you do about the stuff that just keeps on, because you're constantly losing skin cells, you're constantly creating moisture, it's what your body does. what are you doing for that? And that's where that camo dust comes in, because it latches to that and eliminates that human scent molecule. But if you go in there smelling like a chicken strip, it's going to knock it down. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a little chicken strip smell. You know?
Yeah. Well, see, that's what, so like, I kind of do something similar to you. You know, I wash my stuff every week. I keep it in a tote. I don't put anything, I don't wear anything that's in there unless I'm hunting. But I didn't think about the washer and dryer deal. And I definitely didn't think about dusting it down while I was in the tote. And so honestly, after we get off of here, I'm probably going to go dust it down and probably make a huge mess on the floor, but I'll clean it up. I don't care. The wife won't see it.
I do.
See, mine is actually almost identical to yours, Clifton. I do the same exact thing. You know, my wife runs all those little BBs that stay scent forever.
Oh, geez.
She runs all those, and the last time I had an issue, me and her, I got into an argument over it. I told her I was gonna have to buy a new washer, because the last time I ran 3 loads of towels after her. Then I did my hunt clothes and my, you know, scent eliminate, you know, from nose down. I did my eliminate wash, and I did that. And then I did the camo dust in my tote, you know, and all that kind of stuff. The next day I was getting ready to go hunt. I opened my tote and it still smelled like game. So of course, at first I'm like, this camo dust shit don't work at all. But I've kept redoing it, and now I finally got all the scent completely out of there. So it's definitely, you know, it's definitely on my grab list every single time I go.
Yeah,
man, I tell everybody, if you don't believe in camo dust and you don't think it covers up a scent, right, or not covers up, kills a scent, right? If you don't believe that, I want you to go pick up your work boot that smells like ass, right? Everybody's got a pair of shoes that stink real bad. And I want you to pull that dude apart and shake the shit out of that sock in there where it's completely covered in white, and leave that dude there for like 2 hours and go sniff it. It will take that. It will take it like, and I got that from a guy named Jason. Jason doesn't believe in any scent products at all. Scent away products, none, zero. Kills big deer. We hunt the same public land. I gave him a can of camo dust. He actually went golfing and got his golf shoes wet. Pulled him out, and this dude Facebook messaged me and was like, "You got to be shitting me." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "I dusted my golf shoes down last night. Picked them up this morning. There's no scent." And I was like, "There you go." And he's used it ever since.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna be busy tonight because I obviously was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
I thought you just did the normal thing and then step out of the truck, because I change. You know, basically, I'll get to the spot, change, and then get everything together. Like, I don't wear my hunting stuff anywhere except in the woods. And so, just like you were saying, you know, you get out, got them on, shake it down, and all that. And I'm sitting there just shaking away. I'm like, God, is this enough? Like, did I do enough? And I guess I just didn't. I either didn't do it enough, or I didn't do it the way I was supposed to. So I'll make sure before this weekend I get all that stuff taken care of, because I'm getting caught.
I do mine the same way that you did your Mississippi hunt, Clifton, is because on my private land, I've got a half-mile walk from my house to one of the private spots. And I'll actually do it the same way you did your Mississippi one. Well, I'll take it with me, and I'll start dusting, and then I'll walk a little bit, starting to feel a little bit sweaty. All right, let me dust again. And then I get to the stand, let me dust again. Yeah, I do it the same way that you do it on that one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, 110%. I have, you know, not saying that it's all camo dust or whatever, but Chris likes me to say it, so I'm gonna say it. Because I've killed 14 Pope&Youngs, and 11 have been since I've been using camo dust. You know, but
there you go.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, and anybody that kills big deer or has killed, and I haven't killed giant deer, right? But I've got a whole bunch of 130s, 140s, and a few 150s. But a big deer is going to travel with that crosswind, right? Like they want that. And just like that deer in Kansas, and part of it might be, you know, because I get guys that argue with me and they're like, well, you're shooting them at 40 yards. Maybe, but I've also killed them the Mississippi hunt. I killed that deer at like 7 steps or something like that.
Yeah.
And that was straight downwind. You know what I mean? But part of it is like I will intentionally set up, like if I know my scent game is 110%, I will intentionally set it up with what people would consider the wrong wind, which I consider the right wind, because I want that buck to have the wind. So he's traveling with that wind in his nose. And I will sit just off of that. Like, you know what I mean? So for me, it's an angled wind. For him, it's hitting him straight in the face. And we could get into the whole ridge stuff. And I'm going to do this very shortly because it's an episode by itself. But most of the time, right? So can you see both of these?
Yeah.
Say these are two ridges laid next to each other, right? All the feed trees are on this ridge, right? This way is north. Over the top of that is north. So you got a north wind coming out of the north. So the north is coming from this direction, going this direction, right? So you've got these two things. Most guys are going to set up right here, right? Feed trees on top of the ridge. They're going to set up right here. And they're going to see every 2-year-old deer and every doe that comes through there. That mature buck is right here on that fat line, on that next ridge. And the reason being is he has no reason to take his ass up here. Zero reason. Big deer don't like being around other deer. If they did, whenever you get pictures of them, they wouldn't be by themselves. They'd be with big deer. And so what these big deer do is they stay on this, what I like to call the secondary ridge, and they'll be on that fat line where when the wind comes over this, it is going over and it is hitting that other ridge, and he can smell everything that's over here. And that gets me into a whole nother deal, which again, we'll do one, if y'all want to, we'll do one over how wind moves and that kind of thing, and the way that I my advantage in the ridges. But the reason being is like that deer is over there, and this leads into where I think that bucks grunt to call does to them. That's my opinion. I have seen that multiple times from a tree where I have a doe over here in a slough in the cattails, and this little buck is running around chasing her in circles. And I look over and I've got a deer on the wall. He's called mean deer is what my wife calls him because it's a very aggressive mount. But I shot that deer at 73 yards with my obsession. But that deer came and was grunting, and that doe ran her ass over there so that he would beat up the little deer that was chasing her. And then he just kind of walked around behind her. Like, you very rarely see a big mature deer chasing a doe by itself. Now, if there's a chain of bucks, absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. But you see him following her. Watch all the Primos videos, whatever videos you want to. Whenever that doe comes out and there's that 200-inch deer behind her, he's just following her. He ain't running her. He ain't running the shit out of her. No, that's 2-year-old, 3-year-old bucks. That mature deer is going to be that next ridge over where he can walk by. He knows that all the feed's up there. He knows that's where all the deer's at. He walks by so he can catch that scent of them. And that's why, and you'll hear this in a lot of my videos. I said it in my Kansas video. One of my best friends, Eric, was seeing 20 deer a sit. I was seeing 2 deer because I am not hunting deer. I am hunting a deer. Mm-hmm. And so I set up to where I think that mature deer is going to be. So usually I don't see high numbers of deer. And that's what kills me so bad. Just like if you watch the video I dropped last night, where I'm whining basically at the end, every time I come to these urban places, I get beat up. It's because I'm not used to that. I'm not used to hunting a big deer in an area where there's all kinds of deer. It takes me out of my element. And that's why, hey man, big kudos to see one of them. That guy, he's got it figured out. And that's, I always laugh because guys will be like, man, if I was in a big buck lease, I'd kill 200-inch deer every year. Probably not. If I was hunting public like all these other guys, I'd kill 150 every year. Probably not. You know what I mean? Every type or style of hunting has its own challenges. And that's why I like the traveling. I'll spend the last dime I've got as long as my family is fed. Yeah. Now, all the rest, bills are paid, family is fed, and I've got vacation. I'm going somewhere because just like everybody else, I was telling my first sergeant today, every time I go to a new state, it's the first time I got to hunt again because it's all brand new. Mm-hmm. And that's why I keep doing this urban thing. I have not killed a big deer on urban yet, doing it the urban way. Now I've killed some, but not doing it the urban way where I've got feed piles and I'm hunting over these feed piles. But I think a lot of that too is a lot of the guys that are very consistent, he puts his time in. They're hunting deer 30 times before they get a shot at them, or they're running 30 cell cameras. And again, that's not talking trash. That dude's got that thing down to an art. And I respect the shit out of it. But every situation has its own different challenges. And I was one of those public land guys talking trash about if I ever do an urban hunt, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? Well, I've been doing it for 2 years and I ain't killed 150 yet. and
Yeah.
I've killed 3 150s on public. Like, so, it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten into it a couple times with people that are like, "Oh, well, I don't believe in baiting, and it makes it too easy." And I'm like, "Dude, trust me, it doesn't." Because you get that mature buck. I'm actually dealing with this exact problem. Been doing it for 2 years now. There's one deer on that private spot I was telling you about, where I moved the camera today, and he's got to be at least 5 now. So he will only show up. He's daylighted one time in 2 years. And I know the direction he comes from. I know the property he comes from. I don't have access to it.
Did you write down the date that deer showed up?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. October 25th.
I would hunt the 2 days prior and the 2 days after that being that
That's the plan. That is the plan.
And other than that, I would hunt downwind of that feed pile 120 yards every time I hunted. I would not sit that feed pile.
Okay.
Because
I'm going there this weekend, so that's not a bad idea.
Think of that just like a feed tree. Like I hunt feed trees. Whenever I say I don't hunt, and I say it in some of my videos, like I don't hunt buck sign, like I don't hunt scrapes, I don't hunt rubs, I don't hunt feed trees. I hunt in the area of them, but I don't hunt them. What I mean by I don't hunt them is I'm not going to be next to them. I'm going to be downwind of them every time because I'm not after that 2.5-year-old 8-point that's going to come in there and actually walk up to the doe or go in there, maybe give him a bite of corn or whatever. Those big deer just aren't going to do that. And if they do, it's a rare occasion.
Well, that's what I noticed is like I've been trying to make up a plan, which is why I moved the camera today. Because at first I was up on the ridge thinking, okay, maybe this is where he comes from. Maybe he circles around because I have had photos last year of him going on top of the lower part of this ridge and then coming down and going to the feed at night. Like not too much later than sundown, like maybe an hour. So I'm like, okay, he's over here. Well, where is he coming from? And it kind of showed me like no matter what feed you put out, it could be the most expensive shit. It could have corn, soybeans, peanut butter, peanut brittle, meth, whatever you're gonna give these guys, right? They're not gonna go to it in the daylight most of the time.
He's out here drugging deer.
Hey man, I'm not even gonna make that joke.
I mean, hey, an addiction's real. You know what I mean? No matter how you get it. And the thing is, and this is my opinion, and I've never talked to Lee and them about this, but like in my opinion, like those dudes, and I know that they're running, tens of cell cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that with the feed, if you can ever figure out where their core area is, where it's really small, where you're in that 150 yards, 200 yards from the area, I think that's key. Like if you're feeding, but I think it's extremely hard to do that with a mature deer, and it takes a lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of access. Because deer also move throughout the year. You know what I mean? Where they're at, what they're doing. Actually, the first deer that I killed that I was talking about that set me on my bow hunting path, 152. We called him the roamer because the year before I killed him was a big 8-point. I had him on camera 4.5 miles, 2 hours apart difference. Wow. On both cameras. And he was running a doe. It's about 4.5 miles, like one side of my lease to the other side whenever I used to be in this lease. And I nicknamed him the roamer. And then it so happened the next year I killed him in between those two cameras in October. But yeah, it's different now, and every style owns like you gotta, if you're an actual hunter, like you have to respect every style, whether it's like you said, like you catch a lot of crap for baiting. And what sucks is man, like one of the XOP guys, I'm gonna throw him underneath the bus right now. His name is Tom, right? Tom is probably one of the best dudes I've ever met in my life. However, to hell with that clown, and I'm gonna make him watch this next week because I'm gonna be with him. No, so in my videos last year, Eric and I doubled from the same tree one afternoon. Actually, I guess if you added it up, it's like 286 inches of horns hit the ground, within 15 minutes of each other. And those 2 bucks, we hunted this place like public. The difference is we carried a 20-pound bag of apple corn out there with us and dumped it out on the ground. The wind was blowing straight into their bedding area that day. It was the perfect case scenario. But Tom was like, yeah, I watched it until I seen that corn and then I turned it off. And I was like, man, like, you know, I get a lot of grief if y'all have seen the deer that I chased down and shot on Camp Robinson. And people are like, that's cheating. And I'm like, dude, I used literally more woodsmanship in that one hunt than I've used in 10 years. Like trying to get in front of that deer and know where he was going, you know, and stuff like that. So it's, you know, every bit of it's different. It doesn't matter if there's feed or not. Like it's, there's a method to it that you have to use. Otherwise it's not going to be successful.
Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what we're learning. Like me and JD both, especially last year, man, we would just put feed out and you get does, you'd see the 2.5-year-olds and stuff, but the 4-year-old and up, you wouldn't really see them. So we're like, man, maybe we need to do a different type of feed. And we eventually came to the conclusion, like everybody else does, dude, you got to catch them either going to it or scent checking whatever's out there. Yeah. So, I mean, my plan this year is to not hunt over that once I actually start going after this deer. Like he is around, you know, but I haven't really gotten too many photos of him. He's only shown up twice. And he starts getting more active more into October. So in the next 3 or 4 weeks, you know, I'll probably have a better chance at catching him somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to hunt that deer over bait. I'll still put bait out, but I'm going to try to catch him coming from the direction that I always see him come from and, you know, kill him that way. Because I already know one day out of the year, it's not going to be that easy to catch him because he could change it.
You know, the one thing that I learned hunting, because, you know, I do the urban hunt here in Arkansas too, which is not like y'all's urban hunt. Like this is big timber with a house every 500 foot or 500 foot. But one thing I learned here was last year, and I haven't got to do it this year because I just haven't had the time with my son playing baseball, but is the first time I would feed in a new area, the biggest buck would show up on camera the next day during daylight every damn time. So what I started doing is just feeding until I went. And I killed a pretty good buck the next time doing that. And then the next time I literally had a 160 show up and I had decided to sleep in that morning. And I spent the rest of January trying to get on that deer. In between that, you know, January it's like shows time. So you got the ATA and all that stuff, Big Buck Classic. And so I had like 3 days to hunt him and I just kept dumping feed to it. And like the last day was whenever that like extreme cold front came through last year. So it was like 2 degrees in Arkansas. It never happens. And I was up there like freezing. I'd been there for 8 hours. And I'm like, I'm an idiot. Like, I know that deer's not going to come here. Like, I know. And I just stopped down and packed my stuff, went home, and didn't go back, you know?
Man. Yeah, these deer will drive me nuts, dude. I've stayed up so late sometimes just, you know, trying to learn how to read like maps and looking at photos and kind of watching like where they come from. I'll have my photos and just do a slideshow. And I'm just like, all right, how was he moving? And then
so I'm going to tell you, I tell everybody else because I catch a lot of grief because I don't hunt cell cameras. Mm-hmm. If I put a camera out, it is to see what is in that area. I'm not hunting where that cell camera was.
Yeah.
And so here or there, another podcast that y'all know the guys very well. They asked me, they were like, what do you mean you don't hunt cell cameras? And I was like, you want me to tell you why I don't hunt cell cameras? And they're like, why? And I was like, because when I go on that block of public, and that 135-inch 3-year-old comes by me and I run an arrow through it, that was the biggest fucking deer in the block of timber, and you can't convince me otherwise.
You know? You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Maybe that's what we need to do.
I think people mess up on public land using cameras is you are hunting behind that deer. Like 90% of the time, you're hunting behind that deer. Now, I think it's a lot better than it was with original trail cameras, obviously, where guys would run a trail camera and that buck showed up 5 times last week. So they hunt it for the next 2 weeks. And they don't see the deer. So I think it's better. But I still think that, like, you know, at least I'd say 70% of the time, probably, that guys are hunting behind that deer. Like that deer showed up, they got him on camera, and they're like, bro, I got to be there. And they take off, you know, they take their 5 days of vacation they got the next 5 days. They don't pay attention to what the wind, the weather, the temperature, the moon phase was for that day that buck showed up. They just go the next 5 days and they don't kill him. Now they've wasted their vacation. And now another 2-year-old buck dies the end of the season because they're not going to eat that tag. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's Yeah, that's my spill on cameras. And I have a bunch of them. I've got one of probably every brand, and I run one back here behind the house on a designated feed site for the 6-year-old, and then I run 2 or 3 at some places on the urban place that I
Yeah.
hunt. But
Yeah, I mean I used to use it like how you just said, one shows up, and I mean I even did it this year and it actually worked. It's just the day it was after the 6 point, my daughter named Trike, he was showing up in daylight every day for about 3 or 4 days. So I went on I think it was a Saturday evening, and I got in at like 2 o'clock, and it downpoured. I was freezing. I got down from the tree, changed into different camo dusted down, got back up in the tree, and I'd already gotten blown out once. This doe snuck up behind me and just happened to look up and just gone. So, I'm thinking, all right, if he is going to daylight, it's 6 o'clock. This is the time. Sure enough, dude, I look up on the ridge to my right and see, deer. I don't know what they are, but I see deer, and these 2 little fawns come running down, and I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. They're moving. He might show up, and so you start getting those nerves going because you start thinking, all right, he's here, right? He's gonna be here, and so I stand up way too early. I'm like kill mode. I look over and I see this big brown body coming down. I'm like, oh, that's just a doe. It's cool. Nope, it was him. He came running down, chasing these fawns, bully buck and everything. And I mean, literally, dude, everything worked perfectly, except for the fact that I let my nerves get too much to me, and I was in there shaking like a leaf, and they had to have seen me because even the fawn stopped and looked my direction, and I'm like,
if a fawn looks up at you, bro, your knees were rattling.
dude, it was bad. It was really bad. Like
Yeah.
you would have thought I already shot this guy with how fast my heart was racing. But the takeaway from that is that worked. Had I been able to stay composed and everything, I'd have killed him. So in that aspect, I think cell cameras are great. But you also make a very good point that you're working behind that deer because you don't know what he's going to do that day. You can't go into the future and be like, all right, he's going to come at this time, so I need to go this day. So it kind of goes back to like what Michael Perry said. He uses cell cameras, but he doesn't check them during season. He pulls them afterwards, and he's like, all right, this time frame, this deer was here. So the next season he goes in. It's still working behind him, but in a sense, it's not.
No. So I think that he is very onto something with that. Like, and what I did, so like the learning hunting maps, I promise this has to do with what he had to say, right? So wherever I thought I had maps pinned. So my family here in South Arkansas is kind of like where you are at. There's these hunting leases where you kill like basket rack 8 points, right? Like a 4,000 acre lease that there's like 70 of us that are in it. We all pay $300 a year. So I grew up on one of those. My dad had this stand called the 80. And the reason being, it was an 80 acre clear cut when we first got in the lease. And he had a bush hog lane straight across this thing. And so anyways, my dad killed bucks every year, tag out in the 80. And so whenever I thought I started figuring out how to read maps, I went and opened Onyx to all the places I had hunted in the past. And those damn fat lines, that's where it was at, right? And then I started noticing my dad, it's like he takes off all of rifle season, right? He's an airplane mechanic or inspector, but he takes off all of rifle season. And I started noticing that it was like November 16th through the 19th, every single year. That dude was killing deer. Then something else my dad did is he would not shoot a doe off that stand. Well, this went on for like 8-9 years, and then it shifted like a week later. And I was like, I sit back and start thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? There was a damn doe that was in there that every year she came in that same week, and all of these bucks would move into that thicket, and he would just go to slaughter town on them, right? Then he's tagged out. So all the rest of us, like he's tagged out, nobody goes back to that stand. Next year comes around, he hunts every day for 10 days. The 11th, 12th, 13th day, all of a sudden he smashes this big buck. Well, after like 9 years, in my opinion, I think that doe died. And then there was another mature doe that was in there, and she was a week later, but his early doe was now dead. So now it was shifted a week, you know what I mean? So that goes back to what he's saying and learning those. I think him and my dad doing the same thing, except my dad was doing it based off of his does, and this guy's doing it based off of his trail cameras. But there's a lot of guys. I don't do it on my channel because I don't run a whole bunch of cell cameras because I just don't like to hunt the same areas more than once. I like to bounce around and relearn stuff. But obviously, like that dude obviously is probably trying to kill really, really big deer too. Right? And like I'm gonna shoot every 140 that walks underneath me. I have tag. But there's a lot to be said about guys that do that because I have seen that on a bunch of different YouTube channels and even hunting shows where guys are like last year. Midwest Whitetails, like those dudes that Jared got, like he says it all the time. He's like, last year, the first week of November, this buck was at this spot over here on the creek stand, and he goes in there and he smashes a 170-inch deer. You know what I mean? It's like, and he's like,
well, that's what we were telling him is like, we're gonna start basically putting regular cameras out on public and just leaving them. Like I'm gonna go next week and move one because I've got one in this spot that I know I'm not going to kill anything. It's this big open field. It's a rifle field. I did it for early season and then kind of realized, I can't get in without busting everything out there. So I'm going to be moving all that. And then I've got one spot I'm leaving a camera at. Might go check it just because the temptation's too strong. So I want to know what's there. But
hey, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. So obviously I'm doing this on my phone, so when I get a text message that pops up, I promise y'all want to hear this. So did either one of y'all watch my Mississippi hunts from last year? Either way, there's a guy named Jesse, right? So Eric was in the Marines, I'm in the Army, and Jesse was in the Air Force. Jesse kills a lot of stuff. And so towards the end of the year last year, he wanted to go to Mississippi with us. I'm like, I'm giving you a camera, like to carry with you. And his first hunt, he smashed this like 17-inch wide 4-point. Anyways, so I messaged those guys the day before yesterday, and I was like, hey, I'm going to need a favor. And they're like, what's up? And so I have killed 4 deer already this year, right? So I was like, I'm going to need y'all to start killing some stuff because I need some content, and I don't want to go outside and do any reviews right now, right? So just a funny, Jesse just texted me and Eric a message, and he's like, I've got some footage for you. Stuff that makes people laugh is good content, right? And like, so obviously I'm not responding, but Eric does and says, what happened? And Jesse said a good buck came back and he wasn't not good and busted himself in the mouth and busted his lip open.
No.
Oh my God.
Oh God. That's
the greatest. Like I said, dude, it was worth interrupting you. I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. That's hilarious. I don't even know what I was saying, to be honest. Something about public land and cameras.
But
exactly.
So I got, I guess, one kind of question outside of deer per se. You're running DCA a lot. How do you feel about them?
No, I'm kidding. Hey, so number one, my opinion on arrows in general, and arrow's an arrow. I do the same thing, rather back whenever I was shooting the gold tips. I did the same thing with my DCA arrows, and I did the same thing with the VIPs that I have downstairs as well, because I do shoot the deer crossing archer, the DCAs, and I think they are a great arrow. But I do the same thing with every one of them I get. It doesn't matter who makes them. And that is when I get them in, I take them and I roll them across a flat surface, and then I weigh every one of them. Because anybody, anything that you buy, the weight's going to be off just a little bit, is what it is. And then I will number my arrows by the one that hits the, blah, blah, blah. But again, it's because I like to shoot distance. When deer comes out, I've got a 100-yard pin. I'm not going to shoot one at 100, but I will kill a deer at 70 every time he steps out if I think that it's calm and, whatever. Anyways, so I think the DCA arrows are a very good arrow. They came out with that rupture. I don't remember. It starts with an R, guys. It's the brand new DCA arrow.
Yeah,
it's
right.
The rupture, bro.
It's the rupture.
So they're a small diameter arrow, right? And that's the first time I've ever shot any small diameter arrows, the micro diameter or whatever they call them. Like I said, dude, you're a bow guy. I'm not a bow guy. I'm a killer, right? I kill stuff. Yeah. However, so last year I shot their Hunter series, which is, from my understanding, their cheaper series arrows.
Yeah.
I shot the Hunter series. I shot 5 deer, 3 being mature bucks, and then finished off my Grand Slam turkey with one arrow. So 6 animals, 1 arrow. And last year, my bow was shooting 303 foot per second. That is some ass coming out of an arrow and blowing through deer, and that arrow held up. The new arrow, and it might be because of micro diameter, I don't know anything about them. I will say that I have killed 4 deer and I broke 2 arrows. They fly great. You can take them, play with them. They're super strong. I haven't blasted that a lot because shit happens, right? If it gets caught up, like one of them most certainly stuck in the offside leg, so I'm not surprised it broke. The other one, the deer, I actually think fell over on it. So like I'm not surprised by that either. So all in all, like they're a great arrow. And super awesome people. But at the end of the day, I think that a lot of arrows are the same. You know what I mean? In my opinion, I think that when you buy an arrow, whether you go buy a dozen or whatever, and I won't name drop the company because we're on here and I don't know any of those guys. But when I was at Max, my buddy was getting a box of arrows, 12, he bought a dozen, and they are one of the most popular brand arrows out there. I will say that. They weighed each one of them, and we poured 4 more out of another dozen, and they threw those 4 away because they were 22 grain different. And that's huge. 22 grains is a lot. But they were 22 grain different.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah, we won't name drop.
Y'all need to tell me who this is because I think I know, but I'm not 100% sure.
That was not DCA. Every arrow I have got from DCA, I will give them 110 has been within 2 grains of each other, which is pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
But that other one, and I said something to Tech, I was like, what in the world? He was like, it's every company. Like we weigh every dozen that comes out.
That's cool.
So here nor there, just food for thought. When you're buying your arrows, number 1, don't buy an arrow from Bass Pro Shop. I'm sorry if those guys sponsor you. And the only reason I say that, man, it's just like all these other ones. If you do, just make sure that you talk to the archery tech before he cuts them, because they're not usually archery techs. So any of the arrows you get, man, go up there. If you're buying them online, spend $20, get you a scale. I call them drug scales. I don't know what they're actually used for other than drugs, but get you one of those kind of scales and set in your man room, in your living room, hide in the closet, whatever. Don't hide it with baggies. It's probably bad, but hide the scale somewhere. And then whenever you get your stuff in, guys, weigh it. You know what I mean? Because you're most certainly going to have 6 to 8 that are pretty damn close to each other, no matter what the brand is. And then you will most likely probably usually have 1 or 2 that are a little bit different. But back to your original question, the DCAs are solid arrows, man. They are good enough arrows that, I shoot them. But other than that, it's the easeability of it. I do like the fact you can get on there, build your arrows. And I think the longest I've had to wait was about 5 days on new arrows. And that's a pretty good turnover, from getting on there, telling them what you want, building them, and then having them send them to you. But then again, last year they did fletch my arrows for me. I didn't have any issues out of the fletchings. This year I had mine fletched elsewhere by Max down at Jody's because the helical twist that they put on is extremely tight. It's a very, very big twist. And as fast as my bow is going, it helps hold it more true. I'm not saying it does it with every bow, but I'm saying with the bow, my bow and the way it's tuned, it works fantastically. And so they're a good arrow. They're one to consider, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves with people, like you were saying, for the tighter helical for your bow. Mm-hmm. That's one of the biggest things that I always try and preach to some of the other people I talk to, not really Eric because he's not shooting fast enough for it to matter. But but it's usually you've got to tune your arrow to your bow. Do not try and tune your bow to your arrow. Tune your arrow to your bow.
Yep, I've learned that.
Yeah,
and I'm running a 5-degree helical, so I mean, I've had.
God, that's high.
You knew that already.
I didn't think it was that high. That's 5.
Dude, I don't know what mine is, but literally it's like this. Like
That's how
it
mine
is
is.
the most.
That's about a 5
Uh,
or 6 degree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
That's
ever
crazy.
watch MFJJ, like elk shape or podium archer or whatever, and you see the easy fletch, that's what I'm using. When I build my arrows, I'm using the easy fletch, and it's like a freaking wave, dude. It's crazy. But it makes
Well,
it
I can tell you this from some of the scientific stuff I've looked at. With a 5 degree helical shooting under 250 feet per second, you're doing yourself a lot of harm. You're
I
losing at
know,
least 4
I
feet per
know.
second.
It's all I got right now, though, so I just got to make it work. But
So,
I'm with
Refletch
you.
it straighter.
I don't
look,
have any way to.
I got your back. I got your back. So with that being said, when I was shooting my obsession, I was shooting in the high 290s.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I had helical twist on all my arrows. I go down to Texas. I ran out of arrows. I went to Bass Pro Shop. I weighed my own arrows. They let me cut my own arrows. Super cool guys down there. This was like 8 years ago, 6 years ago. No twist on my arrows, and the groups at 50 looked like that. Like my bow was flying too fast, and it was the same kind of fletchings, but there was just no twist on it.
Yeah.
You're there. I think the faster you are, the more you can probably get away with that.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that to me, it quieted down my arrows. Was probably my biggest noticeable difference was the sound. They didn't seem as loud. The rotation's good. You know, if you're shooting out at distance, you said you liked a tune bow, so you got it. Like there's gonna be something, and it pisses every one of these bow turner guys off. It's so hard to get that little bit of wave out, but it seems like with that strong twist, it kind of works it out for you. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Again,
does.
I don't know. I mess with Jody all the time. Like guys will message me all the time, be like, "What'd you do here? What'd you do here?" And I'm like, I took it to Jody and was like, "Do something." I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm new. I don't know what to do. You know.
But look, man, we've kept you for almost 2 hours now. I'm sure my wife is just ecstatic that I've been down here this whole time. But I've had a great time. We are gonna get you back on. Honestly, we got to hear about this Wisconsin hunt. See the new Wisconsin state record you're gonna shoot. And
in less than that year's 140 inches, and that's gonna be a record somewhere. You ain't gonna see no record.
I mean, you never know.
I'll shoot the first 140 that walks by.
Yeah, well, it could be a crazy, non-typical
And
one.
then you take it down to Florida, and then you claim it's a state record in Florida.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. I missed. I went to Florida on a 9-day hunt. I'm so sorry for a rut in the middle of August. Worst time in the world, by the way. Miserable. But I did that, and I missed probably 100 and first time ever in a tree saddle, and I spun this way. But I missed probably a 115, 128 point like a stud. And whenever I came back, I showed my buddy the footage that's from down there. He was like, "That's a giant." And I was like, "No, man, it's like 120 inch 8 point." He was like, "That's a giant." I was
That's a giant.
I was in South Florida, and the deer probably weighed like 100 pounds. You know what I mean? And anyways, come to find out, like that was an absolute giant for that area. So
yeah, those southern Florida deer, man, it blows my mind how big the size changes from down there up to like Saskatchewan. You see a 350-pound deer that looks like a 110, but he's really a 150. You're just like, how? But it's because the body's so big.
Come to a state like Arkansas. East side of the state is all river, delta, crops, whatever.
Yeah.
Looks like Saskatchewan deer. You drive an hour and a half, like 160-pound deer is a mature deer.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it messes me up because like you'll be hunting over in South Arkansas and like, oh, okay, like that's a 110-inch deer. I'm not gonna shoot him. You go over the east side of the state and you're hunting around the ag and the public land over there, and you see a 250-pound deer, and you're like, oh, it's a 110-inch deer. And then you go back and you look at the footage, and it's like it's just mid 130s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Body size.
Yeah, it's wild how much they can look different when it comes to body size. I mean, it blows my mind. But look, before we sign off of here, man, what do you got? I guess, what do you want to tell the people listening that you got going on? What can we look for? I know you mentioned something about more broadhead reviews coming, I guess after this deer season. So I mean, what else you got going on?
Yeah, so I'll give y'all a quick rundown on stuff that I know for sure. So like I'm leaving tomorrow, go to Wisconsin, doing a public land challenge there. The first 2 weeks of November, I'm going to Iowa, doing a public land thing there. I am going to end up in Oklahoma at some point in time. And then January, we always do like a surprise hunt. I did Alabama year before last, did Mississippi this year. If Eric has his way, we'll be back in Mississippi so he can try his luck at that 170th deer he missed. And then as soon as I get the go ahead from XOP, I will be dropping that new climber video, and I should be the first one to have it out. And I'm telling you, it is going to be right at $500, but it is going to be a game changer. It weighs 12 pounds. I mean, it's insane.
Wow.
Definitely going to get back into the broadhead stuff. Their PSE's fixing to drop a new bow. So we're going to be into some more bows. I've got a bow tech and a bear dealer that's going to let me start doing videos in their archery shops as well. So you'll see more of those kind of bows. So just like every year, man, the Flagstaff bows, I am taking a list right now of broadheads that guys want. So if you're not following, subscribe, whatever, to On Your Own Outdoors on YouTube, go do that and get in the comments, drop a comment. Most of my reviews, guys, if you don't know this, come from viewers asking me to do a video of it. Like I did the Skeletor steps, and a dude commented, was like, bro, you gotta get your hand on the latitude. So like I went the next day and got a set of latitudes to do the video on. So
I'm real curious. I want to get some of those latitudes.
Man, they're different. They're
I watched your video on it, and that's what sold me. I was like, I want to try those.
Yeah, they're next level, man, but they're different. They feel different. And that, I said it in the video, but just like a little piece, I'm not trying to keep you forever either. The reason that I started my channel, if you go back and look, like I really started with reviews first. 10 years ago, if y'all remember part of this podcast earlier, I was talking about I used to carry a ladder stand on my back, right? I didn't have any money. And so whenever I got into bow hunting, I was like, all right, I've got to have a climber. And I was watching a hunting show on the Pursuit channel, and they had done this climber. And so I saved up for like 3 months, 4 months, spent $300 on this climber, and it was the biggest piece of shit I had ever put my hands on. And I was stuck with it for like 2 years. Like, this is real talk, right? So I was stuck with it for like 2 years. And then all of my buddies have always been like, dude, you need to carry a camera around with you. Like, no, because, people don't believe that you're killing all this stuff, right? And so it was actually my wife. So my wife is from California, never hunted a day in her life, in the Air Force. And so she was like, I love to teach. I do it on the military side a lot as well. Like, I love my soldiers. And so she was like, bro, like, why don't you do reviews? Like, you're super passionate, because like I would be on my channel or on my page on Facebook all the time. Like, don't buy this. It's actually shit. And it's a publicity thing and blah, blah, blah. And that's why I started doing reviews. So one thing, guys, if you've never been to my channel, that you can ask these guys, is you will always get honest reviews. If it's crap, I'm going to tell you it's crap. If I think it's great, I'm going to tell you it's great. Do not expect me to hunt out of everything I do a review of. I can say it's great, and it doesn't mean it's great for me, but I'm saying it is a good product that does well at the application that they're saying it's going to do. So there's my little spiel. My videos came from my heart. I didn't have any money to go buy anything, and was stuck with something for 2 years, and I'll be damned if I can keep somebody else from doing that. That's my plan.
You know what I think you should do since you're coming up on 11,000 subscribers now. Yeah, I'm sure you've got some, fangirls out there. I think for content wise, and I've seen some of the other bigger names, or not bigger, but some of the other names on YouTube and social media, they'll do it probably once a year, where they'll actually do, like, let's just say this is the 2023-24 season. They'll do their own 2023-2024, setup, what they're actually using for that year.
Yeah, I most certainly need to do that. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't done videos on because I didn't know how well people would actually even watch or whatever. And obviously now, yes, I'm getting the views. Like, I need to definitely do that. And like, if you haven't been over there yet, like, I'm doing a bow giveaway tomorrow, the bear bow that we were talking about earlier. I'm going to do that drawing tomorrow. And so we're going to try to
give your other one, your For You hunt. How's that going?
Yeah, so God, I wish I'd have thought about that in the beginning of the podcast, right? Because I need to get that out to guys because I think it's going to be huge. I think people will absolutely love it. I would have done it. And so, guys, what the For You Hunt is I wanted to find a way to give back to the people that follow me, right? That watch my videos and give them the opportunity to have their face on TV. Because let me tell y'all, every time my 6-year-old sits down here and watches me on TV, you can't convince that guy I'm not famous, right? It just is what it is. Tells all of his friends. Like last week, he told somebody at the ball tournament, they were like, "Where's your dad?" And he was like, "He's hunting." They were like, "Where?" And he was like, "At a place that starts with a J." I was in Georgia. He's 6. Like, that's pretty damn close. And so, anyways, with that being said, what I started doing is you can reach out to me via Facebook, TikTok, email, or just comment on a video or whatever. Or Instagram. And basically what I do is you can film your hunt however you want to, cell phone, camera, it doesn't matter. Get with me, we'll get the footage over to me, and then for completely free, I edit it and then I air it. And the person that gets the most views from now until next season will get the chance, 2 options, either to join On Your Own Outdoors, and this isn't being a prick if it's actually good quality stuff, to join On Your Own Outdoors, or B is I will pay for your tags to come to a state to hunt with me. So
wow.
that's the kind of kicker. Cause I mean, that's what keeps people like, I've got a place you can sleep. Like I've got a trailer, like that's what we all stay in. Usually what keeps people from going somewhere is the tags because they're expensive. And that's just, my way of trying to give back, I guess you say.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's awesome.
Doing the Lord's
That's
work
awesome.
right now. That's awesome.
Yeah. So buy you a $50 camera arm and start filming your hunts when you kill that year.
I really need to. I'll work on that. But man, look,
His footage is going to be so shaky.
It will, yeah, but it'll still be.
Hey, look, I've got a tattoo that goes down my side. It says it's all about the stories, and that's how it is, man. It's true,
man. And that's my favorite part about this podcast. Is getting to hear everybody's stories, and especially people like you that we actually are like getting to know pretty well. When y'all come on and you're like, hey, this is what got me where I'm at, or this is what I experienced this day, or this buck, or that, or whatever.
Look, the only complaint I got is I've texted you and you ain't sent nothing back to me in a week.
You know how busy this man is?
Hey, look, plug right here. My kid is 7 or 6. He plays for a 7U travel ball team. They are #1 in the nation right now.
See, nice.
He is busy.
Nice. Yeah. Way to make me feel like this tall. That's cool.
Hey, so I'm gonna be honest with you. So whenever I was fixing to message y'all earlier to be like, "Hey, what time are you gonna be ready?" or whatever, you're gonna think I'm an a-hole. But when you sent the picture of you that said I'm public land hunting, I opened it and didn't know who it was. And that sounds terrible, but my number was on Facebook for years, and so people that follow me down send me stuff, and like I have your number saved. But it popped up on my screen in my truck, and I just seen a picture and was like, "Who the hell sent me a picture?" Right. And I forgot.
Yeah, well, that was me. That was me.
Also, if that was stop window shopping bucks, because that looked like a window picture that I seen of that buck that was right up above that one. Was that a game camera picture? It looked like a window picture.
No, that was my trail cam. That was from my property.
Well, you missed him that day. In case all you guys don't know, he had a stud on camera in broad daylight. He was probably asleep or something.
I know exactly.
No, I was out of town.
I know exactly.
I was out of town because I'm only home on the weekends.
Yeah, I know which one it was, and it broke my heart when he told me, sent me that photo too, and I'm like, damn it, dude, you couldn't have called sick one time, just one time. Yeah. That's all you need.
No, would have, but it would have been the wrong day. That's how.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. Awesome, dude. Well, look, get ready for some mapping pictures. I'm definitely going to be sending you some. And I just want to thank you, dude. This honestly, like I said before, we love doing it with people that we're getting to know better and just really good dudes. Thank you for your service, both of you guys, by the way. We wouldn't be able to do this without y'all. And I have the utmost respect for both of y'all. But yeah, man, I can't wait for you to come on the next episode we do with you. We'll definitely talk about wind and whatever the hell else you want. The next
you got to use more bottles and staplers, though.
That old stuff. Welcome to the next episode.
Yep, right. We're gonna lead into this one.
You're too young. You wouldn't understand.
No, I don't. But hey, you said a next episode, so I'm down.
That's right. I appreciate
Awesome,
it, guys.
man.
Thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Yeah, hey, have a safe trip tomorrow and send us pictures of whatever you kill. All right.
All right, brother. We'll do. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate it.
Say, man.
Southeastern Bow Hunter Podcast.